They're working to get kids off the streets and into positive environments. That's the driving force behind the March Stop the Madness charity basketball game yesterday at Creston High School in Grand Rapids. The idea was to have fun, but also to shed some light on the recent violence in the city and remind kids and teenagers that there are other avenues besides taking to the streets.
These kids together to show them that it is positive role models and leaders throughout their community that they can reach out to.
Organizers of the event also stressing that kids should get involved in after-school programs and activities as an alternative to getting into trouble. The charity event was also a fundraiser with money going towards the Hip Hop Coalition, which is dedicated to helping inner-city kids find their potential and a path to success. They are being served up. The green mugs
are full.
As the girl who was here in the, I would say in the 4 o'clock hour before we got here, Leanne, there was a girl named Molly McGinnis.
Love it.
Lined up and waiting, and she said, well, I think it's going to be worth it because I'm going to get a free t-shirt, I'm going to get a mug, and I'm going to get a free breakfast.
I mean, it is freezing out here, and she wasn't dressed very warm either. No,
she was not dressed very appropriately for the weather. The line is absolutely huge behind us, just waiting to get into McFadden's. I wonder at this point if you are not inside, if you're going to get in at all, because they're not serving drinks outside until, I don't believe, 11 a.m.
You want to go break the news to them?
No, but we did hear our first cheer from the crowd, which I'm surprised it's taken this long. A Grand Rapids man who was hit by a vehicle last week is still listed in critical condition. That's according to Spectrum Butterworth Hospital in Grand Rapids. On Thursday, Kentwood police say Ben Folkertsma was hit by a vehicle while he was walking down Countrywood Drive near Breton Avenue. The 38-year-old was reportedly wearing dark clothing and was in a dark area of the street. Now, the driver of the car, a 60-year-old man from Kentwood, was not injured. No word on whether he was ticketed. And Michigan State Police troopers from the Paw Paw Post are investigating a hit-and-run accident happened in Comstock Township on Saturday afternoon. Police say a Ford Taurus was westbound on East Michigan Avenue when it ran a red light and hit another car. Nobody in the car was injured, but police say the suspect drove away from the scene and was last seen going south on 35th Street. Police need your help finding this car. It's described as a late 90s model green Ford Taurus with an unknown license plate. They think the driver is a female in her 50s or 60s with curly hair. 8 Mile Road in Detroit shut down for several hours yesterday as police worked to clean up a nasty accident. All right, thank you for that, Nicole. I think, Leanne, we might have a bit of our own little circus here behind us this morning, or surrounding us from all angles.
Yeah, well, it's kind of neat to look around to see how all this is starting to come together, because last year, you know, it's so festive, and it's pretty busy. A lot of people dress up in really cool costumes, and this year they're just going to have a couple extra layers on.
They'll have a lot of layers on, and there's a lot of bleary eyes down here, but a lot of people working hard this morning when we arrived.
And
about an hour or so ago.
An hour ago, and they were out here well before that. Of course, the officers were out here getting some cars out of the way that maybe stayed a little too late at the bar last night.
If you left yours on Ionia right across from McFadden's, check with the police. It's been towed by this point.
Apply directly on your head.
That's not to be confused with Active-On, which you use on things other than your head. They don't really show head-on very much anymore.
Not anymore, but they did for a while. Any of those ads seen on TV ones can get pretty irritating.
Frankly, after the time change, I could use a little head-on this morning. Apply it directly to the forehead.
Use some more caffeine. Apply directly to the bloodstream.
For people around Grand Rapids, that ad would make you think of please insert your parking ticket. Please insert your parking ticket. Please insert your parking ticket.
I had to go insert my parking ticket.
Maybe it was the same executive who came up with both of those. Last one for you. How many forgotten debit or credit cards will you end up with at the end of the night?
I would say more than 100.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
So 8 a.m. tomorrow when you're here, they wake up around noon, they're calling you. Best of luck.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Still to come on Fox 17 Morning News, we are talking more about Irish on Ionia. You know, it's not all about a good time. It's about raising some money for some great kids. We're going to talk about Camp O'Malley and how this event raises some green for them.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sarah. It is now lunchtime in Rome, and that means the Cardinals at the Vatican are back at their residence and presumably talking over their options before voting again around 11 a.m. Eastern time. This was the scene around 6:40 or so this morning as black smoke billowed from the chimney at the Sistine Chapel. They came a little earlier than expected. The thought was that the second vote of this morning would end around 7 a.m. and the ballots would be burned, signaling whether or not a pope had been chosen. 115 cardinals, all below the age of 80, are voting. 77 votes are needed for someone to be named pope. Now, there was a brief period of wondering whether it was white or black smoke, but then it became pretty evident that it was indeed black smoke, meaning no pope was chosen. The average length of the conclave over the past 100 years is around 3.5 days, and that's about 7 votes. The longest in the last century was only 5 days, so there is an air of anticipation that something is coming soon. The cardinals have all taken a vow of secrecy. There are electronic jamming devices installed, so nobody really knows what's going to happen, but some of the contenders are believed to include the cardinal from Milan, as well as Cardinal O'Malley from Boston, and possibly Cardinal Dolan from New York City. Supposedly a press conference will be held later this hour, and voting will resume around 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Mike? Hi, Sarah. It is believed he was elected on the 5th ballot. That's the second of the afternoon session yesterday, and that hadn't happened in a century. And as you said, he is being referred to as a Pope of First. That begins with his name. The former Jorge Bergoglio of Buenos Aires is now Pope Francis I, but there are more firsts. The first Latin American Pope and the first Jesuit to assume the papacy. Jesuits are a religious order known for focus on education, social justice, and for staying out of the spotlight. Until now. They're also known as a bit liberal, though Bergoglio is on the social conservative end of the spectrum. Pope Francis also broke with some traditions yesterday. He refused to stand on a platform while greeting the cardinals who elected him, and he asked the gathered crowd of 150,000 to pray for him before he prayed over them.
As you know, the duty of the conclave was to appoint a bishop of Rome, and it seems to me that my brothers cardinals have chosen one who is from far away, but here I am.
By the way, a little more meaning on that name. Pope Francis I is in reference to St. Francis of Assisi, who's revered for his work with the poor and who is viewed as a church reformer, famously saying he answered God's call to, quote, repair my church in ruins. That's important to a Catholic church that's losing members and dealing with sex scandals. Mike? Good morning, Sarah. The hope was to bring in cargo planes, including massive C-130s, which would have added more than 200 jobs to the Battle Creek Air Base. But the governor was on board, as were Senators Levin and Stabenow. Instead, the Air National Guard base is now moving in a different direction. As you said, the Air Force has announced that Battle Creek will be one of the locations that MQ-9 Reapers, drones, will be operated from. The unmanned aircraft are a hot topic these days and are a key tool in the war on terror. Can't really tell the size from the pictures and videos, but drones are about the size of a fighter jet, 36 feet long, wingspan of more than 65 feet. They can fly more than 12 hours fully loaded with fuel, surveillance tools, and weapons. And they can target enemies, while the pilot is thousands of miles away and, more importantly, safe.
It's partially via satellite and partially via optical or optic cable. And, you know, yep. Basically, it goes through cable across the ocean and then up to a satellite and then down to the drone, the controller, and it does that in less than 2 seconds.
Now, the drones will not be housed in West Michigan. They're overseas, nor will the Reapers actually fly over West Michigan skies. Battle Creek has been flying Learjet-style C-21 aircraft for a few years since the A-10 Warthogs left in 2009. There is no start date yet for the drone mission. Mike?